Hi guys, welcome to the Liberal Conservative. Today we're going to be talking about something that has been all over the news in the last week. This is your bonus episode for this week. And the subject of today's podcast is gerrymandering. So, I didn't know what this was for such a long time. And I talked to a lot of people still that don't exactly know what gerrymandering is. Like, they understand that the basic concepts, but they don't understand how it actually plays out. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today and why the Republicans have always created an enormous advantage for themselves in gerrymandering and why the Democrats haven't done much to confront the Republican advantage illegally, basically, right? So, okay, let's get into it. Recently, I'm sure that we have all heard by now that Governor Abbott from Texas has said that he is going to redraw the districts and basically dilute all of the Democratic strongholds in the state, removing about 5 Democratic seats if that goes into effect. So why does that make such an impact? And also, if Governor Newsom, Governor Hochul, Governor Whitmer, Governor Pritzker, let's say, and the governor of New Jersey, whoever she is when she wins, or the current governor, Governor Murphy, if they redraw their districts just as aggressively as Governor Abbott and Governor DeSantis and the governor of South Carolina has done, it basically means game over for the Republicans in the House of Representatives, right? Usually, Democratic governors in blue states have not engaged in aggressive gerrymandering at the same level that Republicans have. And the reason is because they use independent committees to draw their districts. And so it doesn't favor one party or another. It's just very bipartisan, okay? Or partisan. So, okay, gerrymandering, what is it really? Well, it's the strategic redrawing of district maps to favor one party more than the other. There are 2 ways that gerrymandering happens. One of them is to pack the districts, which means concentrate the opposing party's voters into fewer districts, or crack the districts, which means spread the opposing party voters across many districts so that their volume and their power is diluted. Republicans have done this masterfully for over a decade. So the GOP advantage so far, after the 2010 Tea Party wave, Republicans took over key state legislatures, giving them map drawing control after the census. In states like Texas, Florida, Wisconsin, and North Carolina, Republicans have drawn brutal maps that created more safe red seats than the popular vote would justify, minimize the power of urban Black, Latino, and young voters. The Supreme Court has refused to block partisan gerrymandering in Rucho versus Common Cause in 2019, giving Republicans a green light, but giving Democrats the green light just as well, right? So what if Democrats fight fire with fire? Well, if Newsom, Hochul, Whitmer, Pritzker, Governor Murphy aggressively gerrymandered their states, guess what? California has 52 seats, already leans heavily Democratic, but it still has some swing Republican-held districts. Aggressive map drawing could wipe out GOP House representation in that state completely. New York has 26 seats. The 2022 redistricting map was struck down in court and replaced with a more neutral one, which led to Democratic losses. If Hochul and state Democrats redraw it like the GOP has done in Texas or wants to do in Texas, then Democrats could flip 4 to 5 seats instantly in that state. Illinois has 17 seats, and it's already gerrymandered to favor Democrats. They've done it smartly, not much more to squeeze here, but could fine-tune to defend vulnerable seats. Michigan has 13 seats, and technically, Michigan now uses an independently redistricting commission, so Whitmer can't control the maps, but in theory, if this was reversed, yes, she could create more Democratic-heavy districts. Net effect, if Dems match GOP tactics, politics. The GOP holds power in the House because of gerrymandered districts, not popular support. So if Democrats match the ruthlessness in blue states, Republicans could lose 10 to 15 House seats. Combined with the natural lean of urban areas, it could flip the House completely. It would break the GOP's built-in structural advantage. Why do the Democrats don't already do that? Well, as I mentioned before, Democrats often voluntarily implement independent redistricting commissions like Michigan, California, and Colorado for moral or ethical reasons. They believe in fair maps, but that has put them at a structural disadvantage. So, yeah, that is largely true that at the congressional level, if Democrats played just as dirty as Republicans, especially in a close election year, every flip seat matters. And if the Democrats took the gloves off with redistricting in New York and California, especially, the GOP would be in deep trouble. So what happens in the Senate? Are you asking that? Well, the Senate is completely different. It's a completely different beast. Gerrymandering doesn't apply there at all. And unfortunately for Democrats, the Senate is structurally rigged in favor of Republicans in a way that is much harder to fix. I'm going to unpack this for you. Why is gerrymandering not applying to the Senate? Well, the House of Representatives has 435 seats divided by population, so district lines can be manipulated. The Senate has 100 seats, 2 seats per state, no matter how big or how small the state is. That means that Wyoming, with a population of 580,000 people, has the same Senate power as California, with a population of 39 million people. So there's no way to gerrymander Senate representation. It's locked at 2 per state. Why does this severely favor the Republicans? Well, smaller states, more GOP votes. Most small population states are rural and Republican leaning. Wyoming, North Dakota, Idaho, Montana. Democrats win more total votes nationwide, but Republicans win more states. And that's what counts in the Senate. The Senate is anti-democratic by design. In 2020, Democratic senators represented 41 million more people than Republican senators, and yet Republicans had a 50-50 split. A party can control the Senate while representing a minority of Americans. California and New York alone have over 60 million people, but only 4 Senate votes. Wyoming, South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, and Idaho represent 6 million people and have 10 Senate votes. That's deeply skewed representation. The implications of this bias, well, a lifetime Supreme Court justices are confirmed by this minority-favored Senate. Judges, cabinets, members, treaties, war powers, all controlled through this chamber. Even when Democrats win nationally, the Senate remains a bottleneck. Can Democrats flip it? Yes, but it's much harder than flipping the House. Here's how it plays out. Path to Senate control is harder but possible. Win swing states: Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, Michigan. Defend blue seats in red states: Montana, West Virginia, extremely tough in 2024 and 2026. Run charismatic populist candidates who can win over moderates in red-purple states. But here's the problem. Democrats have to win more votes in more places over and over just to break even. Even with a national majority, it doesn't guarantee Senate control. The bottom line is that the House can be flipped with gerrymandering. The Senate can only be flipped with geography, turnout, and strategy. It's a structural disadvantage for Democrats unless we add states like DC and Puerto Rico, abolish the filibuster, and pass Senate reform, needs a majority willing to act, by the way, and win back rural voters with new messaging or ground game. And of course, we're leaving out one very important thing. Make sure that Elon Musk and Starlink are nowhere near election machines, because he, as we have already come to find out, manipulates the election machines with Starlink. So this is what we're up against. This is what is happening. And I think it is very important for these people. See, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who tries and tries and tries and tries and tries, is in denial, and does not want to believe or recognize that we are, in fact, in an authoritarian regime. Many Americans just don't even know what's happening in politics, right? They're just kind of like sleepwalking into this nightmare, and it's happening right in front of our eyes. And it's because we're spoiled. We're not used to having to deal with these kind of problems. To us and to most young Americans and to most Americans, these are with third world country problems, and I'm using that in quotation marks. We are third world, actually, right? When we have a government that is defunding the middle class and people that the majority of people that need government assistance to fund the billionaire class, newsflash, we are in fact a third world country. That's what third world countries do. They extract money from the rest of the country and concentrate it at the top. I should know, I am Cuban, and my family fled from Cuba for this reason. So most Americans are not used to having to deal with that kind of government, and they've been blinded and they've been brainwashed to thinking that we have this exemplary government, but we don't. We have a entire administration that in the office right now, holding the country hostage, who doesn't even belong there, who the majority of Americans did not vote for, who cheated his way into power. That is the only thing that we need to be talking about right now. And unfortunately, it is the only thing that we're not talking about. What is being talked about is basically normalizing his presidency, right? You have podcasters like Joe Rogan, Andrew Schultz. They're all just doing podcasts asking questions like, hey, who do you think should run at the Democratic level in order to win over voters? What are you even talking about? They did win over all the voters. He didn't win. Like, why is no one talking about this? It's the strangest thing. Like, it's like they're just keeping up this facade that like the majority of Americans voted for Donald Trump, and it's a farce. It's not real. So we are in fact right in an authoritarian regime. The question now is, how do we stop it and how do we backtrack it? We have a completely compromised Supreme Court, right? And this started during the Obama years when Mitch McConnell, by the way, where has he been, who refused to confirm any of the appointees that Obama had. And no one pushed him hard enough to say, hey, you can't do that. Yet they squeezed in 3 in Trump's last presidency, including the last one, Amy Coney Barrett, just a few days after RBG passed away. So like, these people do not care for the rule of law. They don't care. They were put there on purpose to implement authoritarian law, which is where we're at. The end. That is all that everyone on the news, on a podcast, on late night TV show, anywhere should be talking about. And it's the one thing no one is talking about, which is astonishing. Like, they're just talking about like, what should we do next? What do you mean? Nothing. Because if Elon Musk cheats in 2026 again to help Republicans win, what is the purpose of anything? You're not even attacking the actual problem, which is they are cheating. The problem is they are cheating, right? So that's what we have to do. Gerrymandering. Now, this guy just basically, Greg Abbott, I mean, first of all, how long, why is Ted Cruz still a senator? And why is Greg Abbott still the governor of Texas? Is this going to be like forever? I feel like he's been the governor of Texas for 700 years. Get out. Why is he still there? How is this a democracy? Why are Supreme Court justices appointed for life? How is that a democracy? By the way, that became a thing in like 1792. Our country was only 20 years old when that happened. When a Supreme Court justice of that time just ruled that he can decide how to litigate what it says in the Constitution, or how to redefine what it actually means, whatever was written in the Constitution. And no one ever bothered to change it. That was 300, 200 years ago, 250 years ago, right? So this is not new. We've had lifetime appointees of the Supreme Court all of this time. This is insanity. How did we come to think that we are a democratic country when we have Supreme Court justices that are not elected by the people, that look at the damage that they've done. Look at the damage that they're doing. And it doesn't even matter, like, if they're women or men. They are, basically these last couple of people that were put there, I mean, to follow through Project 2025's agenda. And so then you have billionaires like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel doing non-bid contracts for $200, $300, $400 million to surveil every single aspect of your life. And you are not aware that we're an authoritarian regime, and you haven't made a plan for sovereignty to build wealth outside of the United States. I have news for you. They're going to zero out your bank accounts in a couple of years. We're going to be moving into a centralized banking system where they're going to tell you where you can spend your money, how you can spend it, because the point of this whole entire game for them is to make sure that we are impoverished, because an impoverished people can't do anything. Now, the wild card here, however, is that a lot of Americans have guns. So the wild card is that, is this leading into a civil war where it's going to be us against them and people are going to start shooting everything? Like, is that what it's going to be? Possibly, right? Everybody's armed to the gazebos here. Like, everybody has a firearm, and Democrats too. Let me tell you, I've spoken to so many of my Democratic friends who are like, fuck this, I'm getting a fucking gun too. And all of a sudden, my hippie pot smoking friends have like 20 guns in their house. Like, they went and got licensed, because of course all of them don't have any criminal history, right? Because they're chill American citizens, and they're like, well, I need to protect myself too, just like these crazies that have a million guns. It can't just be them having the guns. We need them too. So anyway, the point of this episode, I went way off track, but the point of this episode was to talk to you about gerrymandering. I explained it to you as well as I could. And I think that the most important thing here is for these red states and these voters that are legally allowed to vote in these red states, for them to understand how much harm is happening how much harm they're going to receive from these policies being passed by Republican legislators, right? Because in blue states, we're protected just on our own. We're protected from these more extreme Republican executive orders that Donald Trump is pushing through. But in red states, you're not, right? They're going along with what he's saying. So it's up to you guys to change what you're doing. If you're a registered Republican, great. Stay registered Republican or registered independent. Vote Democrat. We need to switch the flip. We need to flip the switch on these people. And they are counting on your lack of intellect. They are counting on your lack of knowledge when it comes to these subjects. They are counting on your lack of legislative ability. They are counting on your, basic lack of human decency. And they're counting on you to be a red vote come rain or come shine. And that's where you come in. That's where you have to realize the impact that this is having on your life and make the right decision for your family. And I have to tell you, the right decision is not to vote any of them in. So let me be clear. The House of Representatives can be gamed. The Senate is rigged by design. And the system, it was never built to represent the people equally. It was built to protect land, wealth, and power. If Democrats had the audacity to gerrymander like Republicans do, the House could shift overnight. But the Senate is the fortress. 2 senators for Wyoming, 2 for California. That's not democracy. That's basically aristocracy in disguise. We don't need civility. We need strategy. We need to outsmart the system while we work to dismantle it. That means flipping what we can flip. Redistricting New York, fighting for every seat, and refusing to play fair in a game that's already stacked. But we also need to think bigger, because until we expand the Senate, add new seats, rewrite the damn rules, we are playing on a board that was never meant for our liberation. This isn't about left or right. It's about top and bottom. Power hoarded versus power shared. And if you think democracy will survive on good intentions alone, you haven't been paying attention. I'm your host, Yudenia Mesa, and this is the Liberal Conservative Podcast. We're not here to make you comfortable. We're here to make you dangerous.